Hi everybody, hi, it's Eve from Professional Beauty here, and we are back. Thanks for joining us again for Virtual Beauty Week. I'm excited for the next session. We've got Ronan Perceval, who is the CEO and founder of Phorest Salon Software. And most of you probably know Phorest is a platform that allows salons to manage their appointments, their marketing, their reporting, loads of other things all in one place. And Ronan's going to be talking to us today about a topic that probably everyone is interested in right now, which is how to generate revenue and grow your business while your salon's closed. So difficult times at the moment, and Ronan, with his very strong expertise in technology, is going to give us some ideas on how to navigate these times. So hi Ronan, thanks for joining us.
Hi Eve, how's it going?
Yeah, good, thank you. How's it going over there in Ireland?
Yeah, so I think we were kind of a week or two ahead of you guys in terms of the shutdown. So and you can kind of see almost in all the different countries around the world, they're all like a week or two behind everyone. And like the States is kind of a couple of weeks behind again. And then with the way they're feeling is the way we were feeling a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And then, they're going to be feeling that way next week, that kind of thing. So it's crazy to see what's happening. But
absolutely strange time. So I suppose in that sense, you're a bit ahead of the UK. You might be able to give us a bit of extra advice.
Yeah, we're pretty close now. I think we're pretty much we're all in the same boat right now. But most of our customers are in the UK anyway. So we're obviously, all the stuff we're doing every day is kind of with salon owners in the UK. So it feels like we're there, especially now that everybody's remote anyway. It doesn't really matter where you are, right?
True, yeah. We've all been joining each other virtually over the last few days. Yeah. It's been great.
So shall I go in to kick it off?
That would be fantastic. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Eve. So welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining me today on this virtual beauty session. I'm really excited about this and great to see what Pro Beauty have been doing actually. Now that they weren't able to run their proper event in Excel and to do this instead, I think it's fantastic. So it's been a pretty crazy few weeks for all of you, I can imagine. And for most of the planet. And, before we discuss kind of business side, I just wanted to say, I hope everyone here and their families are safe and well and hasn't contracted the virus. You probably know people who have been, if you haven't been yourselves, and, the same for myself. So I hope everybody's safe. And I've spent a lot of the last while speaking to salon owners who've had to close their doors, lay off their teams. Many of them have had to being furloughed or go into social welfare. It's an incredibly stressful time. And I just wanted you to know, here in Phorest, we're also dealing with the same severe economic shock. So I feel your pain. It's slightly different for us to you guys in that we actually are busier than we've ever been. But of course, on the other side, obviously our revenues are going to be dropping very sharply this month. So it's slightly different in that we aren't able to actually close for the moment. But we certainly feel your pain financially. So we all have to work together to get through this. And so what we did is we made the decision to plow on and really focus on getting some new features out. And I'm going to talk to you not so much about the features that we're doing, but just generally about things that you can do using technology to help generate revenue while your business is closed. And also to start thinking about how to prepare for when it does open, because as dark as it may seem now, at some point people are going to have to go back out and will want to go and get facials done, get treatments done, get their nails done, get their hair cut. So those things are services that people will want to get done, and they'll probably all want to do them in a big rush at the end. So it's very important that you do prepare for that rush at the end, and it's something positive to focus on as well. So I'm going to discuss that a little bit later on. I think we'll get on with the seminar. I've got some slides that I want to share with you and to discuss some things, and I'm going to be taking questions obviously at the end with Eve, who's going to be reading them out. So please feel free to comment there, and we'll keep track of them and answer them later on. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. So the first thing is we have kind of divided this talk into three parts. And the first part is three things that you should do when in this crisis that you need to focus on, things that are actually within your control, because there's a lot happening right now that's totally out of our control. We don't know when the crisis will end. Obviously we all hope it will be as quickly as possible, but we don't know. So that's outside of our control. But what is within our control is, number one, is taking as many methods as possible and steps as possible to preserve as much cash as you can in your business. And the second thing is to start implementing as many things that can start generating revenue for you while you are closed. And then the third thing that you can focus on that's within your control is getting ready for when your salon reopens. And I'm going to go through those three today, and particularly focusing on how to generate revenue. So I'll start by just going through a few little steps here, which we found useful, and a lot of salons that we've been working with have told us that they found useful. So one of them is, obviously at this point now, you probably have laid off your teams or furloughed your teams. You should have made sure that you've talked to your landlord to get some sort of deferral on your rent. And we had to do the same thing, defer 50% of our rent for the next couple of quarters. Our landlord worked with us on that. And we've heard a lot of stories of friendly landlords helping salons out. If you haven't spoken to your landlord, you should. Obviously there's no guarantee that they will. But the general consensus is that a lot of them have been very helpful. So we would encourage you to go and do that. And they're the two biggest costs, obviously, in a salon is the people, your wages, and your rent. And then a lot of the other costs hopefully will be lowered, like your electricity and things like that, because the business won't actually be running. And then in terms of Phorest, if you're a Phorest customer, we're deferring 50% of our subscriptions over the next few months. So if you haven't signed up to that, please, if you're a Phorest customer, do reach out to us at letsgrow@phorest.com, and we'll organize that for you. So the next thing then is, how do I generate revenue while closed? Well, there's three kind of key ways that we're starting to see around the world emerge, and some places, some salons have really embraced this and are doing really well. So the first one is online gift vouchers. The second one is e-commerce, and the third is online consultations. So if we talk about online gift vouchers for a second, there's a few things that are quite interesting to think about here. So an online gift voucher is basically, in some ways to think about it, is like an interest-free loan, because basically what you're doing is you're selling your services up front. It's like a prepayment. So if you buy a gift voucher now, you get the money now, and then when the salon reopens, you'll do your service, and then that money will basically convert into revenue effectively. But it's a fantastic way to get cash in right now. We're seeing a lot of salons do campaigns around support your business, at this time, by purchasing a gift voucher. And we've seen salons sell up to £15,000 worth of gift vouchers, which is incredible. So that customers, people who go to your customers, that visit your salon, like, they often are, they really want to support your business at the moment. There's a lot of people, and I can't talk to everybody, because there's some people financially really struggling at the moment. Of course there are, but there is also a large swathe of people that are actually at home, and they're actually not able to spend any money except for do their Tesco shop, and they are wanting to support people, and they are wanting to support their local businesses. And often they have a connection. Probably know the clients that I'm talking about. You'll have a large percentage of your own client base that you have a real connection with, and they'll want to see your business survive. And so we're seeing campaigns around #SupportYourSalon, by purchasing a gift voucher now to use when you reopen. And it's to them, it's not really costing them anything, because they were going to use that money anyway later on. But it's a great way for you to get some cash in the door. So, there's stuff on the internet if you want to sell online gift cards. If you're a Phorest customer, we launched it yesterday, so you can kind of do it from within your Phorest software. And we also have email templates, which are available to anyone, even if you're not a Phorest customer as well. So if you go to phorest.com/C19, you'll be able to download templates there of what to send out to your customers, announcing this gift card. So in the email, it'll basically, I'll show you some of the screens here so you can kind of see. And even if you don't have Phorest, you should be able to design this up yourself, either using those free templates or writing your own one. So the first thing is, your gift voucher will have some sort of link In Phorest, it's in here in the manager screen, and you'll have a link which you can then post on social. You can post it in the emails you're sending out. You can put it in a text message you're sending out. But whatever online gift voucher tool that you manage to use, they will give you a link, and then you just put that link on all your different communication methods with your clients. And then, there's things like, like you can send it to yourself or to someone else. And if you've never done online gift cards before, this is a great time to do it, because it is the way that more and more people are buying gift vouchers anyway. So even if we just step outside the coronavirus kind of situation that we're in at the moment, it's a fantastic opportunity to get this working for you. And then you'll be able to use them at Christmas time and, Mother's Day and Valentine's Day and all sorts of things over the next few years. So using this opportunity, this downtime, to work on your business and to set this up, I think is a really smart thing to do. So we're seeing stuff as well around gift vouchers. So because salons are closed, the wording is much more around pledging to the salon and stuff like that. And that's what the payment processing companies are kind of enforcing at the moment. So it's basically like your support your salon with a pledge and receive a complimentary gift card. And then in Phorest, you can send out emails that we've written for you that are really nice, that are having, as I said, some people are getting £5,000 in a week, £15,000 in a week, even in one scenario. So it's a really good opportunity for you to interact with your clients as well, and they do want to support you. And there's certainly, maybe they don't all want to support you, but you're going to have in your client database, most people will have at least 500,000, maybe a couple of thousand people. And all you need is like 100 or 200 of them, or 50 of them, or even 20 of them to support you. And it can make a real difference and give you a much better chance of coming out of this at the end, much stronger. So I would really encourage you all to reach out to your clients. Another thing that is kind of just goes through this whole process, I think, to think about is that it is really important that you stay in contact with your clients as well. Even though your business effectively is kind of put to sleep, let's say, if you don't communicate at all with your clients over the next couple of months, when you reopen, that connection with them may have faded, and you absolutely do not want that to happen. So it's critical that you stay in contact with them. And the gift card is one example of a reason to reach out to them. But you're going to need to be able to remind them that you're there, and to think about that very carefully. I would be very, very nervous of people kind of just completely shutting down and not communicating with their clients for a few months. I think you're going to make it much more difficult for you at the end. Now, we have, when we are talking about this, we are hearing from people that I'm furloughed, that means that I shouldn't be working on my business, and things like that. So just to be clear about that, the guidelines around that are actually quite hazy on the HMRC websites and stuff like that. The guidelines aren't completely clear. If you're selling a gift voucher, that isn't actually generating revenue. Just to be very clear, it's important that you understand that. It's a prepayment for revenue that will be generated in the future. So on the guidelines, there's nothing to say that you can't take prepayments right now. And until guidelines come out to explain that further, which I really doubt that they will, but doing gift cards right now does not impact, it would seem, being furloughed. So that's something to think about. Another one to think about is that if you're the owner of the business, if you're a director of your business, directors, even if they're furloughed, are allowed to continue working on their business. And since most of you listening to this probably are salon owners, there's a very good chance that you are a director as well. And if you are that director, again, you can be doing these things to work on your business, even if your whole team is furloughed and things like that. So just do bear that in mind. Okay, so that's on gift cards. The next sort of thing that we want to talk to you about is e-commerce. So I think actually, Eve.
Yes.
Do you want me to take any questions on that actually before we go on to e-commerce? Because I don't know if there has been any questions.
I think not specifically. I think it might be better if you carry on through and we do questions at the end.
Perfect.
If that's okay.
Absolutely. Okay. So just checking there, the screen is sharing again. So yeah, let's talk about e-commerce. So I think the thing about e-commerce is like we all know, I think most salon owners that I've been talking to over the last few years, they all are being affected by e-commerce in some way if they're not doing it themselves. So a lot of salon owners would have felt that their retail sales are down over the last couple of years because people are buying products online, and it's something that it's a sort of game that they need to get into, let's say. But it can be difficult because when you're selling products online just as a shopping cart or whatever, like that product is available on lots of other shopping carts too. And then there's some brands that don't want you to be selling their products online. Okay, so bearing those things in mind, what I want to share with you today is that there's other ways of doing e-commerce that don't necessarily contravene rules for brands that don't want you to be selling their products online. And that is where you sell the product directly to somebody without going through going through a website or something like that. So let's think about this. So say, for example, we do salon software. So all our clients are tracking every product that's ever been sold in their salon and to whom and stuff like that. So they have all that information. So those people who've bought products from you before, they could purchase those products again from you directly, maybe through the internet or through an email, but without actually having to go onto an online store. And I think that's a very powerful way for you to actually generate product sales during this period. So what we're talking about here is that you on Phorest, this is how we do it, but you could do it manually through your own system probably, or even if you're using paper and pen, just by going through all your treatment cards, and if you've been keeping a record of what products that you've sold, if you can get those all into a list or into an Excel file with everyone's email address and the product that they've sold, you could do it. So I'll describe it first for the way Phorest is going to do it, and then we can talk around, and I can take questions on how you can do it if you don't have Phorest. So what we're going to do is you're going to send an email out to all your clients that have ever bought a product, say in a particular time period, let's say the last 12 months, and it'll have a link to repurchase that product, and as long as you have that product in stock. And so you'll send that email out, and then of course they're all people who've bought that product before, so that they've some interest in that product, and then they can just reorder it directly from you. And again, a lot of your clients want to support you during this time, and they're not able to come in and buy those products right now in the salon, so you're giving them the chance to get that product. So you're going to see some sales off that, and some salons are going to see some really big sales off it. And I would really encourage you all to start thinking about this, because this is something that you're going to want to do anyway. Once the world goes back to some sort of normality, e-commerce is going to be even more important as part of your business. So this is the time to really work on that. So we've seen salons that are doing this actually, get in their cars and go around and do the deliveries. Now, obviously in a full lockdown situation, that's not possible to do. But when the restrictions get opened up slightly, which they will, it's not going to be like we're all in lockdown and then suddenly the whole world is open again. We know there's going to be sort of like, it's going to open up and there's going to be less restrictions for a period of time and things like that. That you may want to do the shipping yourself, obviously in a very hygienic way, and you're going to make sure that you do that properly, or you can obviously charge a shipping fee and use it using the post office or whoever it is that you want to do the shipping through. Another thing people have said to me is like, what about if I can't get access to the salon? So if you can't get access to the salon, that's where all the stock is right now. You're going to have to wait a few weeks anyway until the restrictions are opened up a bit. But what we have been seeing some people do is take all the stock that they have sitting in their salon right now home with them. Take it home when you have the opportunity to go into your business and collect it, and then do the shipping from home. So that's something to think about. That may suit some people. Obviously, everybody's going to be in a slightly different situation. So anything I say here now, you have to apply it to your own, use your own judgment about whether that works for you or it doesn't. But it's certainly something that I would strongly encourage you to think about. So that's kind of how we would think the e-commerce thing works. If you don't have Phorest, so you can't send that out that way. What we are saying is that you take out your records wherever you have them, and type them into like an Excel file with an email address and the product they bought. And then basically do some sort of mail merge where you send out an email to each person asking them if they want to buy that product. And that just say, and you could say that they just send you an email back. And we have seen salons then just ring the customer, take the order over the phone, take the credit card over the phone, process it that way, and then ship it out manually. So that's certainly an option, I think, for most of you to be able to do as well. So there's lots of opportunities here to think about this. But I would strongly recommend that you really start thinking about e-commerce as well. And our opinion in Phorest would be that, this is probably going to accelerate e-commerce for salons by about 5 years within 6 months. We're going to come out of this, particularly with our own customers. I think a lot more of them, thousands of them probably will be doing e-commerce by the end of this period. And they're not going to stop doing e-commerce at the end. Do you know what I mean? So it's a good opportunity to really accelerate the future of your business in that way. If you are interested in being part of our new e-commerce solution, you can email us at beta@phorest.com. And we'll chat to you. We're taking people's feedback on what the product will look like or whatever. And again, if you're not a Phorest customer, don't worry. You still feel free to email us in and be part of that. It may be really useful for you to hear some of the ideas, or for us to hear your ideas around it too. So that's two big ones: gift cards and e-commerce. And the third one is around online consultations. And so we're seeing, depending on the type of service that you provide, but we're seeing people provide free online consultations, and we're seeing people provide, even paid for online consultations. And so that's things like doing makeup classes over Zoom, or Google Hangout, or WhatsApp video even. And, it really depends on the type of service that you're doing. We're also seeing things like people sending out information to their clients, like say around HD brows, please don't, it's not a good idea for you to start messing with your brows because you can't get into the salon. And we prefer to, jump onto an online consultation and talk you through what you can do to preserve your look, or things like that. Also things around your nails, like removing gel nails and things like that, doing special classes or consultations around that. So there's loads of things happening. I'm sure you're all aware of it as well. So I would just encourage you to just get online, see what other people are doing, and then get back to your customers. It's a fantastic way to stay connected, even if you're not going to charge them. It's really important to stay connected with them and keep those relationships going, because then they'll be much stronger when you come back out of it at the other end. So that's kind of some revenue ideas for you guys. I hope you got some stuff from that. We'll take some more questions around them at the end. So I'll chat more about you right at the end of the presentation. But then the kind of one of the most positive things I think to think about is that when this does end, and when your salon reopens, people are going to want to go to the salon more than they've ever been. It'll be like a Christmas time, but probably even busier. And you're going to have this rush that will happen at some point. I don't know when that's going to be, but you can imagine that, if nobody's been able to go to the salon for 2 months or 3 months or something, they're all going to want to go in that first week. It's going to be one of the first things people want to do. So you are going to need to extend your opening hours during that period, and you need to think about now how you're going to handle that. I think we're talking to a lot of salon owners who are saying, we're going to stay open 7 days for a couple of weeks. So, even talking to their staff about preparing for that. We're going to be opening maybe at 7:30 in the morning and working till 9 p.m. at night. It's going to be a crazy amount of work for you guys, but I'm sure you'll take that now, because it'll mean that you'll be able to generate a good bit of revenue as well at that time, particularly when you're just trying to get your business restarted. So to really think about that. Other things to think about are the way people are going to be, consumers are going to be after this. They're going to be much more health conscious. They're going to be much more hygiene focused and hygiene conscious. And so is there things that you can do in your salon to prepare for that? Two things. One is the sort of the semi reopening where you might be allowed to open your salon, but maintain social distancing measures. So what can you do around that? If you've got nail bars or nail stations, if you've got if you're a hair salon, you've got chairs or things like that. Will they need to be further apart? Can you think about that? Are you going to need some sort of perspex, or are you going to need to do some changes to the salon to have to make sure that there's sort of distancing between people? And so start thinking about that now. And the salons that really embrace that means when we do go into some sort of opening period, if you're going to be able to communicate to your clients and basically say to them, like we're doing all this work around making sure that, hygiene is our first priority in the salon, and you'll be safe coming in, or safe as possible. So thinking about that, and I, your business better than everyone, your premises better than everyone. So start to think about how you could make that really good, and then do it in a way that you can then use that as more information to communicate to clients. So I can't repeat that enough. You need to be communicating with your clients as much as possible. And that doesn't mean just, gurgitating anything out, but having reasons to communicate to them. So say if it's this week, it's like buy an online gift card to support your salon, thank you very much, and you can use it when we reopen. And then maybe in a couple of weeks' time, send them out some information around buying their products that they haven't been buying. And then, a couple of weeks later, you can send them a message around, we're doing all this work in the salon to make sure that we're, hygiene is our top priority, so you can feel safe coming into the salon. If you communicate these things out over the period of time, you're going to have that connection with your client all the time. So that would be something that we really focus on. And you've probably seen some of these things online, which are quite amusing. But this, they're funny because obviously they look ridiculous. But we also know that there's a sort of grain of truth to it as well. I mean, you obviously don't need to wear an umbrella when you're working with your clients. That might be a bit ridiculous, but there will probably be some sort of ideas here about maintaining that distance somehow, and see how you can do that to the best of your ability. So I kind of coming to the end of the presentation now. I just have a couple of things I wanted to share with you guys. One was that at Phorest, so we've always had a mission in Phorest, which is to help salon owners get their clients back more often, spending more. And what we've done over the last 3 weeks is kind of park that mission, because getting your clients back in is obviously not possible for the next while. So instead, we've come up with a new mission, which is basically how to get more cash into salon owners' bank accounts. So that's things like the gift cards, e-commerce, and other tools that we're working on, and just really focusing on them. So we've moved our whole development team over to just focusing on these tools. And gift cards, we weren't due to come out with till the end of this year, but we got it out yesterday to the UK and Ireland, for example. And e-commerce wasn't due out until 2021, and we have our first version coming out in 2 weeks' time. So they've been working absolutely around the clock to make sure we can get these tools out. So it's really exciting to see. And already we've seen tens of thousands of gift vouchers be sold in the last 24 hours. So it's great to see that cash being generated for salons. And then the other thing is that, our secondary mission is basically to support all of you guys through this with as much advice and content that we can do. And so we have a website, phorest.com/C19, where we have loads of resources there for, from things to how do you announce you're closing down, which most of you guys would have done at this point, to how you should sort of communicate with your clients through this period. Okay. So the final thing to share with you guys is a story. And so I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this guy. There's a good chance you possibly haven't. His name is Jim Stockdale. And if you just hang on a second here, I'm just going to pull up the story to share with you guys, because I really like it. Hang on. So so if you've ever read a book, some of you may have read a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins. And in that book, he does a chapter on this guy, Jim Stockdale. And he calls the chapter the Stockdale Paradox. And it's a really powerful story, and it's a story that I've always loved, and it's always given me inspiration. But I reread it there a few weeks ago in the midst of this crisis, and it made me, it really put chills up the back of my neck, because it was this was actually now suddenly a time when this really made sense. much more so than even when I'd read it before. So I'm going to, so we're just gonna come out of this now. So, okay, so Jim Stockdale, right? So he was the highest ranking military officer in the US Army in the Hanoi Hilton, which was a very famous prison camp during the Vietnam War. And he was there for 7 years, from 1968 till 1974. And he was tortured over 20 times. And by his own account, he came out of the prison camp even stronger than when he went in. And in his book, which he wrote all about this, it's called In Love and War. And if you've read that book, or if you do read that book, it's an amazing book, but it's hard not to get depressed during periods of it, because it seems like the conditions that he's in are so severe. And there was never, to him, there was never going to be any end to it. He didn't even know if he was ever going to get out. And his captors could come in any day and torture him, which they did. And he it kind of reminds you of that kind of idea, or that, if you know when something's going to end and you have like a fixed date that when something's going to end, you can probably survive nearly anything. But when you don't, if you're in a really bad situation and you don't know when it's going to end, you've no sense of control, and that can be very difficult. And that's basically the situation he was in. But let's be honest, even more extreme, far more extreme than most of us are in right now. But a similar kind of idea, in that we don't know when this is going to end. So how did he not get depressed? So this is what he said. He said, well, you have to understand, it was never depressing, because despite all those circumstances, I never ever wavered in my absolute faith that not only would I prevail and get out of this, but I would prevail by turning it into the defining event of my life, and that would make me a stronger and better person. And then he said this, you see, I realized I was the lucky one. So that might seem crazy to someone. That seemed a bit crazy to me when I heard it. Like, how is he the lucky one? I was just like, tell me more, right? So how he explained this was that I was the lucky one because I now know for a fact that I can survive this. And if I can survive this, I can pretty much survive anything. And you actually don't know that about yourself yet. So that's amazing that he had the sort of strength of mind to think about it this way. And then, people asked him, who didn't get out of this situation? Like, he obviously had this incredible strength of mind, and he had a lot of followers and people who were with him that he espoused this belief with, and they all survived all the torturing as well. But there's some people who didn't survive. And what he said was really interesting to this. He said, I can tell you who didn't make it out. It was the optimists. So that's a bit strange for me to think about as well, because I always think about myself as a bit of a glass half full person, always optimistic about the future. So he explained this a little bit more. He said, the optimists were the ones who always said, we're going to be out by Christmas. Christmas would come and go, and they wouldn't get out. And then there would be another Christmas, and they said, we're going to get out this Christmas. And Christmas would come and go, and they wouldn't get out. And eventually they died of a broken heart. And what he learned from the days in the prison camp is that setting yourself false expectations for things that are outside of your control are not good for your state of mind. You should only focus on the things that you know you can work on. Anything that's outside of your state of mind, being optimistic, that you can go like, I hope we get out, but telling yourself we're going to get out at a certain time when it's not in your power, that can be quite dangerous at a time like this. And I think that's kind of interesting, because we don't know, this health situation is out of our control, and we kind of have to accept that it's out of our control. But at the same time, we must maintain the belief, like Jim Stockdale does, is that it will end at some point. And if we focus on the fact that this will end, and then you focus on the things that you can do right now that are within your control. So if you think about what we talked about today, so things like working on e-commerce, getting ready for that, working on gift vouchers, working on ways to stay in contact with the clients, working on ways to make the salon ready for when we reopen, working on ways to make it more hygienic if that's the way people are going to need in the salon. They're all things you can focus on. And so if you keep your mind focused on them, you have a much better chance of coming out of this with a more positive state of mind. So I just wanted to kind of leave you with that kind of thought process. And And thank you very much for listening to me so far, and I look forward to answering some of your questions.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ronan. I'm just trying to turn my camera back on so we can see me. Oh, here I am. Hi, thanks so much. We've had loads of questions as you've been talking, some about some of the things you suggested, some others that are a little bit more specific about how the Phorest platform works. Right, I'll just kick off. We have had somebody asking, do you think that where people are offering online consultations or services, that this is going to be a big sector of the market after coronavirus too? So I suppose, do you see that business is changing in this way?
I definitely think so. I have a good friend who runs a company called Web Doctor, which is basically GP consultations, like that was growing anyway. Just as an example, like what they're seeing now is obviously exploding, but afterwards they expect there to be a much more general mix of people who will be able to just from their sickbed like do a consultation, and then obviously some people will go into the practice, and as a result they'll be able to see a lot more people. And so if you were to think about our salons, when it comes to that, there's advisory services that you can do that makes a lot more sense, that you could get through a lot more of those, or do those in weird hours, like in the evening time when you're at home with people. And that really helps if you've got children or family and things like that, and you need your life to be a bit more flexible. You can start thinking about your business that way. And there may be times when you're doing treatments, and then there's times when you're being able to do these services as well. So it obviously depends, Eve, on the service as well, what the services are. Some of them require, you need to be holding somebody, obviously. But this, having a mix, I think the key that was really opened my mind to all this at the moment is having a mix of things. That your business, if you're only reliant on one service, you're really at risk of being affected by something like the coronavirus. Whereas if you can be a bit more nimble and be more diversified, so like, for example, having e-commerce and having some online consultation services that you're doing, having some memberships, having some in salon treatments, if you have a wider range of things, you're going to be a much stronger business. So it's a good opportunity now to think about that.
Sure, thank you. One that's a little bit more specific about the Phorest platform. Is it possible to implement the Phorest e-commerce on my existing software? Just how would you link up with other software, or can you?
No, like our e-commerce works off the stock control within Phorest and the payment system within Phorest. So unfortunately not. You may be able to link a different e-commerce solution to your existing provider. Maybe you can reach out to them and talk to them about it. Obviously feel free to reach out to us as well. We'd love to talk to you and see if we can help you anyway. But yeah, that's
fair enough. A question from Jessica Fitzgerald, which is, can you send a consultation form to clients in advance of an appointment?
Yeah, so it's interesting you're saying that. Yeah, so we that was one of the things that we were planning to release this year, and we're actually looking to have that done now. So when we come out of the crisis, that's ready to do. Because at the moment, you have to come into the salon, take your iPad out, and record it on the iPad in salon. But we're going to be automatically emailing that out in advance, and we aim to have that ready. Right now, it doesn't matter, obviously, because everybody's in lockdown. But we're aiming to have it so when we do open up in hopefully next 2 months, I would hope, we'll have that then.
Excellent. I think that might have just answered another one of the questions from Anastasia, which is, can you sign Phorest consultation forms on iPads, as in clients?
Yeah, you can do it on iPads now. Yeah, you can. It works on iPads, stored on their card, on their client card, the virtual client card that we have in the system, and everything like that.
A question just in from Justine Mitchell. How can staff offer online consultations if they're furloughed, or can they do that still?
No, I don't think that furloughed staff can. But you can if you're the director of your business. So it's a tough one. See, if you think back to what's happened, like we've been looking at this a lot with people, that the idea of furloughing staff is to preserve the business. That's the idea. Like, the government wants to preserve the business. The aim of the government isn't to stop you keeping your business in good shape. And you have to understand this as well. Like, they've rushed out, and it's been, really credible. And, it's great to see how governments have reacted so quickly. But they've had to rush out legislation and rush out these services. So they haven't been fully thought through. So sometimes you have to kind of go, what's the spirit of what they're trying to do? And the spirit of what they're trying to do is preserve your business. Okay, that's what the spirit is. So it's my belief, but again, you have to do this, you have to make this call yourselves. Like, obviously, don't say Ronan said this, so it's grand. They're not.
Yeah.
The government are going to care whether I said to do this or not. But it would be my belief that their goal is to keep the business up and running. That's their goal. They're not going to be coming down on people because they're trying to preserve their businesses. I can tell you right now, there's no way they're going to be coming down on people. If anything, they're going to be trying to get the legislation, get it amended, get the wording better, get the advice that they're putting out there better. But they want the businesses to survive. So I would, if I was salon owner, I'd be myself. Even if I was furloughed myself, I'd be working on my business and trying to keep it alive. Now, what you can't do is open up the shop and have people come in and do the services that you did. Obviously, you can't do that. But everything else around that, where you're trying to communicate with your clients and trying to keep your business, alive, the government wants you to do that. Like, that's the spirit of what they're trying to do.
Yeah, excellent. There's another question we had through our social channels, which was, how do we prioritise existing clients, those who've bought gift cards, and new clients when we're back in the salon? So I suppose, how do you manage scheduling if you've got lots of people who've bought gift cards who want to book in?
Well, look, it's going to be a good problem to have. I'll be honest with you. Like, obviously, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be, all your clients are going to be ringing you wanting to get in because they haven't had a treatment for so long. So I think you're just going to have to juggle it and extend your opening hours and try and cover as much people as possible. There is no magic formula, really. If people have bought gift cards, they're the ones that have supported you during this, so you're going to want to see them straight away. So I think one of the things people have been saying is that, like, if I sell a load of gift cards now and then I only have those gift card clients in the first week, I won't be getting any money. How will I deal with that? And so, first of all, I think that's unlikely, that all your clients are going to be just the ones who bought your gift cards. But if that was to happen, maybe put aside some of the money that you're getting from gift cards now into a bank account, just to keep it aside to be used then at that point,
Yeah, that makes sense. I think one thing that I'm quite interested in actually is, how can you reassure your clients at the moment that if they are buying gift cards or if they are making these pledges, that you will still be in business? Because I think clients are going to be quite worried too about putting money into something that they're not seeing an immediate return from right now. Yeah,
look, that's actually always a risk with gift cards, is that if you buy a gift card and for a business and then the business goes under, let's say, you're kind of left with the gift card. So there is actually guarantees on the credit card companies actually provide guarantees around that. So I think the best thing to do is is probably just to say, we're doing everything in our power to survive. That's why we're doing this. We're taking really proactive steps to keep our business going, and we're really looking forward to seeing you at the other end. And just to talk about it like that, and just to reassure them. No one can make a guarantee right now, and I don't think any consumer thinks that that's a guarantee. But a lot of consumers are going, yeah, but I want to support the salon, and if I support them now, they're more likely to be there in the future. So I think there's a lot of people like that, and they're the ones you're going to get here. The ones that are really, really risk averse or whatever, you're probably never going to convince them in this situation. So there's no point spending too much time on them, I think.
Absolutely. Sorry, I just had another quick question just in. So, this sort of overlaps, but Justine Mitchell asks, how do you encourage clients to buy gift cards now when they may well be watching their cash and have no idea when they'll be able to use it? Supporting the business only takes you so far. Are there other things you can do, I suppose, to kind of market them differently or to persuade people that it's a...
Yeah, so there is a few things I would say. So one is, like, your first campaign should be those who will want to support you. So there will be a group of clients that will want to support you in this time, and you want to get out to them immediately, because and then there's going to be a bunch of people who will be watching their cash and they won't do it. So that's fine. So another thing that we're going to be doing next week is support a healthcare worker, things like that. So this is basically the idea behind this is it's like a double whammy. So you can support a healthcare worker who are on the front line and also support your local business at the same time by buying a gift card for a healthcare worker that and then you're kind of helping both. And so it's more like, it is just definitely more along the lines of support and pledging, like, because that's basically, look, this is the situation we're in. Everyone knows we're in this situation. You know what I mean? Like, nothing is guaranteed right now. We know that, and all we can do is do the best we can. And there's an awful lot of people who will want to support in that situation. And I think that's kind of
somebody pointed out in the comments here, some clients are still on full pay. Some clients actually probably have a bit more disposable income at the moment because they're not commuting, they're not paying for travel and things like that. So I think, there's a mix. There are certainly people out there who are quite worried about money, and then there are others who are open and want to support small businesses at the moment. Exactly.
It's look, if you have 100 customers, not all 100 are going to support you anyway, and they never were. Like, if you can get 20, which is only 1 in 5 of those customers to buy a gift card from you, like, that's amazing. That'll be amazing for you. So all you need is 1 in 5 to be in that situation, which I think, like, it does look like at least 40 or 50% of the population I still actually haven't even had a pay cut, like, right now. Do you know what I mean? So, like, they're all, like, not spending as much money. I know there's another 10% that have been laid off, and there's another 30-40% that have taken pay cuts, of course. But, like, that's still half your client base. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That are in a position, and I think they're the ones that actually want to help as well.
Excellent. We're kind of running out of time, but I just said there's a comment from Adelia Chamberlain who's asked, how can they get in touch with Ronan if there's any questions later after the interview?
Well, you can email me directly. Happily take your questions. It's ronan@phorest.com. So that's RONAN@PHOREST.com. And maybe if you want to just you can put it in the comments there, maybe. And feel free to email me direct with any questions or any advice you want. I happily help.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Ronan. We've had some other really lovely comments as well about thank you. It's made me feel more positive. Thank you so much for useful advice. So I think people are really appreciative of your wisdom and advice at the moment. So thank you for joining us today.
Cool. Stay strong, guys. All right.
Thanks, Ronan. So we do have loads more Virtual Beauty Week content lined up. So do have a look over on the website, professionalbeauty.co.uk, and click on the Virtual Beauty Week tab. And remember that you can claim CPD points for watching these webinars as well. It's a 1 hour CPD hour for every webinar you join or watch. So have a look at that. It's professionalbeauty.co.uk/VBWCPD. And we will see you very soon. Thanks, everybody.